God stands in the divine assembly. He administers judgment in the midst of the gods. How long will you judge unjustly and show favoritism to the wicked? Judge on behalf of the helpless and the orphan. Provide justice to the afflicted and the poor. Rescue the helpless and the needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked. They do not know or consider. They go about in darkness, so that all the foundations of the earth are shaken. I have said, you are gods and sons of the Most High, all of you. However, you will die like men, and you will fall like one of the princes. Rise up, O God, judge the earth, because you shall inherit all the nations.
Well, welcome back to Fresh Ground Theology, where we like to talk about theology and coffee. And we like it enough, so we decided to make a podcast out of this. I'm Nate Labradorf, and I'm here with my co hosts, David and Wes.
Behold, I have come and shall drink the coffee that thou hast provided. But alas, I shall long for my Folger.
Okay. Well, good to know, Wes. And today we
As long as I'm making the coffee, you will continue to long for your Folgers.
Yes, help.
me too.
I miss my Folgers.
Yeah, I wanted to drink some coffee before we started recording, but it is late tonight. But I wouldn't have drunken Folgers if it makes you feel better.
I have my
But what
Coca-Cola
might make you
too.
feel better is the fact that we're starting a new series today. And this is we're gonna do it as long as we can. Maybe not as long as we can. We'll probably realize
Well,
40,
as long as
50
it
episodes
takes, at
in,
least.
as long as it takes. And this series we're calling Rivals to the Kingdom of Yahweh. And that title sounds somewhat familiar, right?
Yeah, so I was heavily inspired with the title from Gerald McDermott's book, God's Rivals: Why Has God Allowed Different Religions? So,
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
pretty awesome
Well,
time.
yeah, this is definitely a series that I've been looking forward to. And I'm excited to record and to see what happens. There's a lot of cool stuff coming down the pike. But before we get into all that, let's talk about the coffee that we had today. Um, I'll kick us off here. So today, been hitting a trusty Sweet Maria's roast from Nicaragua. It's a Nicaragua Finca Buenos Aires type of roast. It's a good full city, darker roast. Um and it's just a solid coffee, little bit sweet, lots of cocoa, um sometimes some chocolate covered uh pumpkin seeds in the mix according to the label here. But it
Very
does it
specific.
yes, chocolate covered pumpkin seeds. But it does have that kind of the darker cocoa feel to it, which to me, and maybe it's just my limited sampling, tends to come from the Central Americans tend to have more of a cocoa uh, vibe to them than like Africans, which tend to have more a fruit vibe. So,
Yeah,
anyways.
no, I get that. I
But
know
that's what I have been drinking today. It's quite good. I enjoy it.
well, as I mentioned a moment ago, I'm drinking a trusty cup of Dallmayr Prodomo. I do have an
Yeah.
order from Mystic Monks coming in. It
Okay.
should be in by the weekend. I'm excited
Sweet.
about that. And to mix it up a little, it's gonna sound weird coming from me. They make loose leaf tea, and I do enjoy a cup of Earl Grey, so I
There
put
we go.
some of that in my order. So I am looking forward to seeing how that is. If it's half as good as their coffee, it'll be a great tea.
There we
So,
go.
Well, David, when we were, you know, earlier, he had given me some Mystic Monk, but I was also
All right.
drinking
Yeah.
some of our uh Fresh Ground Theology coffee.
Heck yeah.
I finally, and you guys,
It's a which you can buy off of our website.
yes, but you know, just a little while back, my wife had gotten me what one of the best Christmas presents I could have gotten, which was a 2 pound uh, container of Folgers, and I finally finished up uh, with that 2 pound.
How long did that take you to get through?
That
Yes,
took
so
me about a month, maybe, but
Okay.
that's with me in, not drinking the Folgers every day. I was, going back and forth between it and Fresh Ground Theology roast. So, um,
I think 2 pounds of coffee would probably last me about 3 weeks, maybe.
yeah,
Maybe a
yeah, we
little
go for
more.
about a pound a week.
but it was really good. And plus, for Christmas, I got a regular coffee maker, so I'm no longer just doing K cups. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so
I
hopefully,
cannot express how happy I am for you for that
I'm
part.
I'm sure.
And I'm
Well,
happy that you have.
Folgers is a step up. I'll put it that way.
Well, yeah.
So
But Wes, I am happy that your wife loves you enough to even buy you Folgers.
she does. She loves me a lot, and she knows what I like. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Hey, we'd love for you to join us on Patreon. If you're enjoying the show and want to help it grow, come check out our page and sign up. Members get access to bonus content like small groups, Bible studies, and a lot more. Also, we have a book on the Jesus Prayer over at Amazon. It's a great way to support the show and to walk deeper with Christ on your journey. So you can find all these links at freshgroundtheology.com. Well, let's go ahead and get into today's topic. All right, setting the stage a little bit here. We know that Yahweh is the creator God, the only one true God. He's the only uncreated being. But as we read the Bible, we see angels, we see other spiritual entities, we see gods talked about as if they're spiritual entities that exist, not just uh fake idols. Like there are fake idols. There's also these spiritual entities. So um what are these entities referenced in the Bible that oppose God's chosen people? And why are they always luring them into idolatry time and time again? Uh, and who are these entities that oppose Yahweh himself? What's going on here? These are some of the questions that we got.
Yeah. So there's many that are mentioned in the Bible. Of course, it all goes back to the serpent in the garden and the fallen watchers,
Yeah,
basically.
And
pretty.
something to also remember about this is uh, this is not fantasy. These
Yes.
entities that you find in the Bible, they are real, right? We look at what we see on TV, and we see with in Hollywood, and these things that the people that they portray in all the different and it's fun. It's fun to watch.
Yeah,
I mean,
I love Thor
I
and the
yeah,
MCU,
yeah.
man.
Thor and the MCU, and you know what? You know,
I'm all for that.
I'm even a, I'm even a, I'm even a Harry Potter fan. You got
Oh, yeah.
all this stuff, and it's great. It's great to watch. It's great to get into it, but even more so, the real stuff, the real stuff from the Bible, and these entities are real. It's not fantasy. It is biblical theology.
And when you realize that, it's kind of unsettling.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
In a way, yeah.
Well, it's like all these other stories. What is it? Tolkien that talks about, there's a lot of myths, but we happen to believe the one that's true.
Mhm.
Right.
It's like, yeah, yeah, so it's absolutely spot on. Like what you're saying there. Yeah, there's a lot of fun stories out there, and some reflect reality more than others. Um, but
So,
uh, but yeah, but the Bible reflects reality. And Yeah. So, and based off the title that we have, I guess we're going to be focusing on this today and for many, many more days. But where do we even start with this whole project? Where
Well,
are we going?
basically, it all starts in the beginning was the Word,
Mm,
and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. And he saw that it was good. He completed his creation with one final piece before he rested, though. He made man and woman in his image. But a serpent came into the garden, the Nachash, this creature, this created divine being, convinced the woman to eat of the one singular tree humanity was forbidden from, and in turn the man ate as well. This shining one, so to speak, guided mankind where he never should have gone. Man fell and was separated from Yahweh, but there was hope. Uh, the seed of the woman was foretold by Yahweh in his judgment to the Nakash. He would bruise its head, and his heel would be bruised by the snake. So the Messiah was foretold, and with the Messiah, the kingdom of Yahweh would come.
mm, that's pretty
And
good.
yeah, and that's huge because rebellion and redemption, right, show up right together, right there, right away in the battlefield as defined in Genesis 3. I mean, you've got the serpent and the rebellion that happens, and then you've got this declaration by Yahweh that there will be one that comes that will bruise the head of the snake,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
basically he's gonna take them out. He's gonna take them out. That's just how God says it.
Yeah, and it's right there in the beginning, like, right, yeah, it's from the beginning, this is where our story begins anyways. Yeah, the snake crusher is gonna come, and the book of Genesis, and really the rest of the Bible in some ways is just tracing who's gonna be this snake crusher.
Mhm.
But, speaking of beginnings, like, what are we talking about when we're talking about divine beings? When you're talking about these things in the Harash, uh, Shiny One, all this, where does all this come from? And
Yeah.
where could you explain a couple? What are we talking about?
Yeah, they're basically created beings. Most people would probably just say angels, but I do find that word a bit
Right.
lacking. Like it's a job description, not a category of being. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? If I recall, the word angel comes from the Greek word angelos, which translates as messenger. So
Mhm.
the word angel just indicates the being as a messenger. It's a job description
Yeah.
rather than what type of heavenly being it is. It's the job he's got. And so you mentioned watchers earlier. What are watchers and how do they fit into all of this stuff we're talking about?
Yeah, and like you said, angel is a divine messenger. As for the watchers, the term watcher is used in Daniel. It's frequently used to describe these beings in other places and writings. They are created divine beings that would most likely fall under the umbrella term of angel as well, despite my personal feelings of using that word. Um, i- in Daniel's Aramaic, the term watchers is a Aaron, I guess.
Yeah. Aaron.
Forgive my
Mhm.
pronunciation.
Yeah.
Refers to heavenly beings awake and on duty in the divine council. Second Temple Jewish writers applied this term to the transgressive beings of Genesis 6, framing their fall as a conscious breach of sacred duty. As George Nicholsberg observes, the etymology emphasizes wakefulness, responsibility, and accountability, making the rebellion all the more severe. Like,
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I most definitely. It's not like they were like, didn't even know what they were doing
An accident.
or that they were yeah, yeah. This wasn't an accident.
Oh
They knew
man.
and they knew exactly what was happening. And
whoops, I fell down and took the
right.
life in the daughters of man, and now
Right,
Oh,
right.
man. Oh, she was a human.
my bad.
What?
Or
Yeah.
yeah. Or
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I drank the wrong kind of coffee that day and it just went to my head and
Whew.
I did something
Yeah.
wrong.
That was the side of West we didn't want to see. The side of that water. Yeah, but I mean, it shows up. No, I mean, Genesis chapter 6, right? We see it. It's deliberate. It's not an accident.
Right.
Book of Enoch expands on that, talking about the divine rebellion, and it was intentional to the level of a sworn oath that they would follow through with this act. I mean, it's so big. I mean, like, you can't get any more intentional than a sworn oath. Yeah, a
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
binding oath.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
these guys were very aware of what they were doing, but they were so consumed with their lusts and greed that they literally turned their back on what they knew to be true. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
yeah, as well. But hey, let's go back here a little bit to Genesis chapter 3.
Yeah.
And in this world with lots of different names and watchers and angels and stuff, we hear this word serpent, and sometimes it feels like it's a literal serpent, like he's different from all the animals of the field, so he's kind of the same, or is he completely different? Anyways, but at the same time, I mean, most people hear a little literal animal,
Mhm.
a snake, like a literal snake. But what we find and what you're describing is probably something a little bit more complex than, oh, there's a snake and it was talking back
Yeah.
then.
I mean,
Strange.
you might even say I'm describing a throne guardian. Um, the the Hebrew word nahash. Am I saying that right? You took Hebrew.
Nachash. So you have to swallow your tongue a
Nahash.
little. Yeah,
Okay.
swallow your tongue a little.
Audience,
There you go.
to
Okay.
the
Gotta have
audience, but
a
repeat with us. Nahash.
the ha-hash. Gotta have
Okay.
the ha-ha.
Nahash is,
Woo.
anyways, it's multivalent.
And listeners, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyways,
Sorry.
the word is multivalent. It can mean serpent, but it also appears in divination context. Scholars like
Mhm.
Mike Heiser note that the term also overlaps conceptually with shining or luminous beings associated with the divine realm. Genesis 3 is best read as divine rebellion literature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
uh, all of this also basically means that this serpent is not crawling in from outside of creation. He's already part of the system. This guy is someone that you know knows God and is relatable to God. And this is also something that you know the Adam and Eve were not surprised to see this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
They knew him already. It's not like they were like, "Oh no, this is a talking snake." You know, he they knew this guy. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so he is well known. He's part of the system already.
And so so Eden being the cosmic mountain where heaven and earth meet, where God's
Mhm.
throne is, and so you have the divine court, all the angels, if you want to use that term, all the divine beings are in this space. And then you have humanity's created and put there as the stewards of the material realm. And so when the devil shows up, it's a bit of a power grab inside this sacred space. It's Yahweh's own garden residence that's being
Yeah.
shown there. And so when the humans buy into the serpents, you could be like God. Um, their fallout, like their fallout can't stay like a personal sin. Like this doesn't affect anything. Like they're literally trying to overturn Yahweh
Mm.
or become like on the council, like have a status that's not theirs. And so that's why this is such a big deal. Now speaking of that council, we see this council throughout scripture and throughout all the Old Testament and Hebrew literature. Um, and they're called the sons of God multiple times. Like every single time it shows up, sons of God in the Old Testament really points to this concept of divine beings sitting around on a divine
No, man,
council.
it's about Seth's descendants.
Yeah, and then every single time we see these terms outside of scripture, also the same thing. And we see pretty much B'nai Elohim outside of scripture in the different languages. Of course, the vowels are different, but we see this all the we see there is so much friggin' evidence on this. I can understand 50, 60 years ago when you don't have the internet and research like at your fingertips, but like, come on. Anyway, sorry. That's a pet peeve. Um,
No, you're good.
to where we're going here. Anyway, so and it seems like, especially as we get into Genesis chapter 11, 10 and 11, where Tower of Babel, that the nations were administered eventually under the sons of God. And then Yahweh personally chooses Israel. And so as we look through the rebellion in Genesis chapter 6, we see how fast it spreads. And as humanity multiplies, the sons of God come back into the story, Genesis chapter 6, and they just escalate this rebellion beyond just like a couple people sinning and breaking an arbitrary law. It's not just that, it is huge. And that's why you had to have the flood, the catastrophic level judgment, the first apocalypse. Uh, and it's not just a minor emergency in the garden. This is like, I mean, this is world creation order level, whatever your freakiest out level emergency could be. That's what this is.
Yeah,
So yeah, not something small.
exactly. And I mean, the biblical writers portray Nachash as a throne room being, as I mentioned earlier about throne room guardian, part of Yahweh's heavenly administration. Ezekiel 28 and Isaiah 14 preserve a similar imagery of exalted beings falling through pride. You got Revelation 12:9, where it later identifies this ancient serpent with Satan himself. And then when we get into Psalm 82, it provides essential background. Yahweh stands in the divine council and judges other Elohim for corruption. The Nachash is the first of these beings who openly rebel. Psalm 82 shows what corrupt rule in that system does. People stumble in darkness, and even the foundations of the earth start to give way. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
That is wild.
what's crazy is Psalm 82. It's uh, to think about it this way. It's basically God calling a staff meeting and just firing corrupt managers, right? I mean, this is
Give the flashbacks to our last job there.
well,
Not to say that we had corrupt managers, but
well, not
Yeah, it
not
happens occasionally.
not
well,
corrupt.
not in our store. Not in
Yeah,
not
yeah,
in
yeah.
not in our specific store. It was
So,
beyond our store.
Yeah.
but something
Theater
else,
level, maybe.
something else I really like about Psalm 82
Yeah.
is it shows Yahweh's separation from these guys. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
governance over them, and that's something that I think that we can really take to heart.
Yeah,
And
he is not.
be encouraged about.
Yeah. So despite the devil's attempts, um, Yahweh's really not thwarted. I go back to Psalm 2 with that one. He who sits in heaven shall laugh them to scorn. Like, it is absolutely silly to him. Like, okay. And those are the kings of the earth, but he's, the king. He's just like, what is going on? But speaking of that, what is the devil trying to do? What is that serpent trying to accomplish in Eden? Like,
Um,
why?
no, to hoodwink humanity and destroy God's cool new sentient creation, I guess. Um, you know, but
Sure.
seriously speaking, the temptation wasn't just about forbidden fruit. It was an offer of rival wisdom and rival authority. You will be like God.
Mm-hmm.
Humanity is invited to seize autonomy on its own terms. That rebellion mirrors divine rebellion and destabilizes the created order. Psalm 82, it shows us what happens when divine beings rule unjustly. The foundations of the earth are shaken. Eden is the opening move in a cosmic conflict.
Yeah, and sin isn't personal failure, just personal failure. It is personal failure. But it's not just that. It's cosmic sabotage and a declaration of war in the throne room itself. Years ago, I read this book, and it was a fictional book based off of the biblical story, and obviously there's stuff in there, but that's not Bible, but it depicted Satan as actually being jealous of humanity, and
Yeah.
depicted the fall of Satan in the throne room itself. And
What
it,
was that
it
about?
was it's something about the brothers, the three brothers, because it depicted Michael, Gabriel, and Satan, or it said it used Lucifer as his name, but depicted those three as brothers, and it was like in a series. I only read part of it because that's how it was back then, but uh, no.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it was really good, and
Cool.
that kind of it makes me think about the throne room, and that this was a throne room guardian. This is somebody from
Right.
his entourage,
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why it goes straight from throne room, exile, and then, not even what it'd be 3 chapters later, the flood. Just like
Right.
it just goes so sad.
Yeah, yeah.
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 And Genesis 6 is the next escalation,
Yeah. Yeah. So
just
yeah,
one
pretty
after
much.
another.
Yeah, so we got the initial conversation, the initial rebellion, and the conversation between the devil and Eve. Eve was deceived, but Adam knew what was up, and screw Adam. So I should let my opinion slip there. Uh, and anyways, so that's the first
I don't
fall,
know.
and
It's
then
pretty easy for me to overeat at dinner, so I can't necessarily fault him too much for eating more food.
yeah, well, he didn't have to eat that food.
I
So.
know.
Anyways,
Oh.
okay, so that's the first fall, right? And then there's a divine rebellion that mirrors the human rebellion. But then we go to Genesis chapter 6, and we have almost a second rebellion. It's not the same replay of Eden, but humanity just keeps getting worse and worse. But there seems to be the sons of God are coming down. They're not just the noble line interbreeding with the common line, or the or a godly heritage, interbreeding with a ungodly heritage. It really is pointing to divine beings marrying uh, or taking in marriage human women. Um, and that's what's going on in the Hebrew Bible. The usage, the phrase maps onto these divine beings, the members of the heavenly council. It's a tier really beneath the Most High. So you have the Most High God,
Yeah.
who is Yahweh God, and nobody can surpass him because he's the Most High. But then there's also, so you have Most High God. Then underneath that you have sons of God, and then underneath that there might be a couple more ranks in there, but somewhere down the line, you have the angels, which show up later in the Bible, and then especially in Second Temple literature, and of course the Christian discourse. And by the time we get to today, the word angel just means good spiritual being, and the word demon means bad spiritual being. And it's kind of like when I'm talking to normies, I'm I allow myself to be okay with that usage. But if I'm talking to you guys and you use it wrong, uh, may God have mercy on your soul. So, anyways, uh,
I mean, I did tell one of my employees today that the word angel is just a job title, so
yeah, well, that's true.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so like, Genesis 6, it does introduce the sons of God, like you mentioned. A phrase consistently used for divine beings in the Hebrew Bible. Again, as you mentioned already, the interpretation was standard in the Second Temple of Judaism, early Christianity. Genesis 6 then reads as a boundary violation episode. These divine beings take the human women, and the union yields the Nephilim. Later Jewish apocalyptic traditions treat this as a paradigmatic angelic transgression. By effectively swapping the label, the offenders become watchers, and expanding the Trisgenesis notice into a full rebellion narrative in texts like First Enoch and Jubilees. The Book of the Watchers, it expands the account, a
Mm.
coordinated descent, a shared oath, and defiance of divine boundaries. Mount Hermon becomes the symbolic epicenter
A-
of rebellion.
And
Yeah.
and the Book of the Watchers, I believe, is part of the Book of Enoch.
Oh, yeah. I guess I
That's
should have
Yeah. Yeah.
should have
just to
clarified that.
clarify that one. But yeah.
Yeah.
But the
So
Book of the Watchers is where we get the big expanded version, some of which is true. I'm not quite convinced all of it is, but I'll probably be
yeah,
wrong and it's all true at some point. Yeah.
or we could be wrong and none of it is.
Well, there's
I
part of
don't
that.
agree with
Behold,
that
the Lord is
statement, but
behold, the Lord is coming with 10,000s of His Holy One,
uh,
as is recorded in the Book of Jude. And we know that statement is true because that's an inspired by. Oh, I know,
no,
I know.
I'm just
That's another. That's a topic I'm sure we will get to later.
I would like to at some point. But anyway, so we have two sins that dominate: sexual transgression, producing Nephilim, and illicit instruction. Um, Weaponry, sorcery, and omen interpretation. These were divine prerogatives, and their misuse corrupted human civilization. This is
Mm.
stuff that the Watchers brought down to man. Um,
And
Yeah.
by the
almost
way,
like
this is what we
Prometheus bringing
almost
fire down to
yeah,
man, kind of
and we
thing.
see this almost universally. Like I was about to say, in
Of
almost
that,
every other set of myths that's out there. Like this is just mm, these divine beings
ingrained in
transgress sexually and bring illicit instruction. That's what they do.
And you know, we also see this, I mean, the fact that they didn't just tempt humanity, right? But they reprogrammed culture by sowing their seeds of rebellion into the very fabric of humanity, both culturally and genetically. I mean, we see this now. We see
Yeah.
their effects of the effects of what happened. I mean, yeah, sure. Humanity didn't need any, I don't think humanity needed any encouragement, but they definitely did not need what the Watchers
well,
did, you
you
know?
see it
And
now also with some interesting correlations to alien abduction experiences, but I will not go on about that right now.
That is for a future
hey,
episode.
hey, you know what?
I,
But
I
I
do want
so
to get into that at some point.
I was about to say I would love to hear what David had. Actually, I've heard what David has to say, but I would like to hear it on the podcast what David has to say
You mean not standing around after church randomly?
after church, randomly speaking about these things that we so want to tell everyone. And
Well, we got to stay on track.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
sorry,
Okay,
sorry,
so back from aliens to the sons of God, Watchers,
sorry.
not just rebellion, but definitely trying to screw up humanity as much as they can. Um, and the New Testament pretty much just assumes this, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just
Um,
like we see it's the Old Testament and it's New Testament. Yeah.
Yeah, you already mentioned Jude, and then we got, Second Peter
Yeah,
reference, and we have the imprisoned angels. That explanation because the story was assumed knowledge, and that's why the
right.
New Testament can allude to imprisoned, judged angels, as if everyone already knows the backstory. The tradition is widespread enough that the Septuagint can even translate sons of God as angels of God, and then Jude and Second Peter can invoke angelic sin and confinement without stopping to explain the reference.
Yeah.
Even literal rabbinic handling preserves the tension, warning against the phrasing while still reflecting awareness of the angelic reading. So the acceleration toward the flood isn't just humans got worse faster. It's the narrative logic of cosmic order collapsing on both levels, human corruption below and divine rebellion above, exactly the kind of world-shaking disorder Psalm 82 associates with unjust divine governance. The foundations of the world shake.
Right. And so, yeah. the Nachush, Satan, he's the first one. He tempts and deceives, and he starts the rebellion. But then, and that's the first fall, and then you have the second fall where the Watchers come down and corrupt even more. So again, this temptation, Eden is really trying to get allegiance. The Nachush is trying to get allegiance. It's misplaced, but it's a rival voice trying to dig in and redirect humanity's trust and wisdom from God to something else.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
the Watcher tradition, uh, it's a different kind of assault from that. So you
Yeah.
have the temptation and the redirection but the Watcher tradition is not just merely choosing to do wrong, but once that choice to do wrong has just been put into society, the Watchers come down and try to rebuild, re-engineer the social world so that wrong feels absolutely normal.
Mhm.
It's absolutely transgressive, the reordering of boundaries. And later Jewish and Christian writers treat this as programmatic for how rebellion spreads through civilizations. And so, yeah, again, that's why texts really look back. It's the descent plus the boundary violation, not just like bad decisions. I mean, that's one aspect of it. And
Yeah.
you're standing before God is one aspect of, like the penal substitutionary atonement,
Mhm.
where you have a sin debt and Jesus pays it, right? I think there's one aspect of it. However, there's also there's a lot of different layers to what's going on with atonement and the descent, boundary violation, uh, the corruption of humanity, and so humanity needs to be purified and brought back. And anyways, so there's a lot going on there. Oh, I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And so they're reshaping human religion and technology and power structures toward idolatry and
Hmm.
violence. And Psalm 82 indicts these beings for unjust rule and works with an ancient Near East expectation. Each nation's patron deity is responsible for maintaining justice, order in its realm. And when these gods, you know, these little g gods fail, society collapses and creation itself destabilizes. McClellan notes that Psalm 82:5 describes the consequence of negligent divine governance as a cosmic shaking. Those foundations, buckle when righteousness isn't maintained. And in Psalm's closing petition, Rise up, judge the earth, inherit all nations, it reads as a demand that Yahweh replace failed rulers and assume their jurisdictions. And some scholarship even frames Psalm 82 as an explicit heavenly courtroom drama against the gods of the nations whose misrule is condemned but not yet fully realized on earth. Hence the liturgical cry for God to take over governance.
Hmm. Hmm.
Wow. So Psalm 82 doesn't treat them as misunderstood middle managers.
You really like this analogy, huh?
I do, because I'm just saying, like, I feel like
No, no, you're
it's meaningful to me, you know.
yeah, right, yeah.
For some reason that place that we once worked, where you can get stuff for your hobbies. Anyways, so but the case against them is moral. They've changed. They've charged. Sorry, they're being charged with corruption and negligence toward the vulnerable, the poor, and the exploited. And these are guys who were supposed to be taking up for these for
Right.
people. They were given the duty of ruling over humanity for Yahweh, and they were given this duty, and they blew it, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, big time. And not only that, but I mean, the poor and the needy, and they exploited them, and they did all this stuff, and the text just assumes that the deities themselves are culpable, not merely human officials acting under them. So it's not just the human authorities that are messing with the poor and the needy and the helpless, but it's these deities that are controlling the humans to actually do
Right.
this. And they are still messing with God's creation. People that they were supposed to be protecting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, it's wild once you start getting into some of this stuff. So I know we've got Psalm 82, mentioned that a lot. We've got Genesis chapter 6. There's one other major passage though that talks about that talks about angels, and that's Deuteronomy, or angels, the sons of God. That's Deuteronomy 32, um, and really, this is where we see the distribution, right, of the heavenly rulers, and really, and what we see in Deuteronomy 32 is the distribution of these. And I think in Psalm 82, we see the trial and the judgment of these rulers for their failure. So 32 is the setup, Psalm 82 is the finish. If you will.
Yes. 32, Deuteronomy 32, 8 to 9
Yeah.
describes the nations being allotted to the sons of God, while Israel remains Yahweh's inheritance. Verse 17 identifies these beings as demons receiving worship. Psalm 82 pronounces their judgment. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
Deuteronomy 32, 8 to 9, it does preserve the divine allotment worldview in early textual witness. Elyon divides the nations according to the number of the children, sons of God, and Israel/Jacob is assigned to Yahweh, i.e., the multiple scholars treat the later sons of Israel um, reading as a theological modification away from that older picture.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
And
stumbling over my notes here. Um,
no, you're good. And I'll also throw this in there, and this
yeah.
is actually well known to textual critics. The Masoretic text
Mhm.
actually, I won't say systematically, but in multiple places changes the text so that it reads less polytheistic. And so
Mm.
there's multiple places, especially in Psalms, where there's a deliberate change in the text. And so that's why I'm not the MT is good, Masoretic text is good. It's just they had a theological agenda, and you have to watch out for it because,
When you
uh,
mention
y
polytheism, I do want to go on record for the audience. What we're talking about is not polytheistic.
Right.
okay,
Right.
yes.
It's
Sorry,
created
no,
divine beings that fell and called themselves gods, basically.
yeah,
Right. Right.
right, and the term God, so, yeah, so when I say they deliberately edit it so it doesn't sound polytheistic,
Yeah.
not that the Bible, even what I believe in its original form, does not espouse true polytheism as normally defined. It can definitely sound that way, and with a little bit of wording change, we can make it not sound that way, and it's very convenient for our theology. So you know,
Yeah. I mean,
uh,
you're right. It's not
the
describing
the
a full
the ESV does that a couple times too itself.
But
You know,
and I think that that is behind some of the uh translate. I can't say this for sure. I don't know what the translators are thinking, but it seems like that would be what is behind some of the translations trying to get away from that idea. Such as, I mean, I really enjoy. I started reading it when I was in college, and I really enjoy the NASB. I really do. But Psalm 82, it says the congregation. It doesn't say um, the gods that you know he takes his counsel up with the gods. It says the congregation, and I think that
the
part of that,
congregation of the mighty.
right? And I think that that has a lot to go back to trying to get away from the polyistic idea, which it's not
Yeah.
polytheistic. It's not
So
polytheistic,
it's a
but
very inhabited spiritual world,
yes,
and it shows that truth.
but
But
they're trying to, I think they're trying to, guard against that, and in doing so, they lose the lot of theology
yeah.
when they do that.
You know, when I look at a new translation, the first thing I do is I go to Psalm 82 and it's
Yeah, I know.
translates it.
I
And if
know.
it doesn't do it right, I'm like, I don't know about this one.
That's been
Yeah.
that's been part of our discussions after church.
Yeah. Um, but anyways,
But back
so
to Deuteronomy 32.
back to Deuteronomy 32. Deuteronomy 32:17. It explicitly labels rival recipients to sacrifices demons. And Greek, I'm not even gonna try to say it. But
Demoniacs.
Oh,
what?
Daimoni. Oh, sorry, Daimonio. Oh, is sorry. Wow, I can't do that. I can't read Greek tonight. In the Hebrew, it's shadim.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, there is a random text from Deir Allah, which is a mountain. One of these tells, I think it's in Jordan, where we find Balaam the prophet mentioned. This is a non biblical text. And there is a plastered wall telling the story of Balaam. And in this story of Balaam, these particular demons, these gods, are mentioned as the gods that Balaam served, the Shaddaiin, in the late Aramaic that it was or early Aramaic that it was written in.
Yeah.
And in the Bible, it's the Shaddaim. Anyways, sorry, random.
So anyways,
Pronounce that one. Back to what we're doing here.
rival recipients of sacrifices demons.
Yes.
The Greek word. Okay. Showing it shows how Israel's polemic can identify these gods as illegitimate spiritual powers that are receiving the worship. So
Daimonios. Sorry.
then
Got it.
Psalm 82
Brain.
functions like the covenant lawsuit and courtroom sequel. The gods who are granted peoples as jurisdiction are accused of unjust governance and sentenced. So Yahweh is invoked to inherit what they fail to steward. It is often treated as an additional witness to the same hierarchy implied by Deuteronomy 32, 8 to 9, especially because Psalm 82:6 uniquely calls the condemned deities children of Elyon. Sons of God.
Elyon means most high.
There, yeah. Sorry, I should
Children of the most high. Yep. So.
Also, a lot later, transmission tries to soften the theology. Greek
Right.
witnesses frequently substitute angels of God, where Hebrew tradition had sons or children of God, and it. I know we already covered it. I think it bugs all of us.
yeah. I think it does. And
I am shaking my cane over here.
I'm just laughing because yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah the stupidity sometimes. But I didn't say stupidity. My bad. Okay, so but
The absurdity.
absurdity. There you go. That's the word I need to use. Anyways, and so really, basically, that's the Bible saying the gods of the nations failed, which we've mentioned.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we covered the Old Testament, um, and now we need to get into the New Testament a little bit.
So the
And
audience, they're laughing at a thing I put in the note.
Yeah.
I added the word Bubba. Anyways,
Oh, you did. Yeah, by now,
Right.
yeah, the audience should be used to us trying to make each other
Right.
interrupt each other in our monologues with random things inserted into the script, to
all
the
right.
notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we got the Old Testament, pretty solid passages as we go through. And if you want a technical argument for all of this, there are so many dissertations and journal articles and lots of stuff out there. There's lots of podcasts that discuss it, but like there are some friggin' like deep work that really dig into it that you can read, and we'd be happy to send it to you if you don't believe us. But anyways, so that's the Old Testament. How does this go into the New Testament? So, like, the New Testament writers didn't introduce the cosmic powers out of nowhere. They're talking to them like they don't even really explain a lot about it. They treat them like they're already established. They're already there. Especially the idolatry of the nations and where these hostile beings intersect, like where Satan's throne is. Like,
Yeah. So
Mind blown.
Paul's rulers and authorities are these same beings. Idolatry is communing with demons, echoing Deuteronomy 32's
Right.
worldview, which includes nations under heavenly administrators in older textual forms, and the identification of illicit worship as sacrifice to demons. They also show how early Christians were already reading Deuteronomy through an angelic, heavenly powers lens. He recites Deuteronomy 32 in a form that speaks of angels of God worshiping. Paul's demons and powers language fits a well attested Second Temple trajectory that reads Deuteronomy 32 and Psalm 82 is a map of cosmic jurisdictions, veiled divine rule and divine judgment.
Wow.
S- Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. So it's same adversaries, but the conflict isn't framed as Israel versus the nations anymore. It's Messiah versus the hostile administration behind the
Mm.
nations. Which, which is, I mean, it's Christ against
Right.
everybody that was already trying to, do in the humanity. And
It's
Right.
like,
the embodied Yahweh
yes.
against the hostile divine power.
And this is with worship and loyalty as the front line. Psalm 82's logic still stands, right? It's unjust spiritual rule produces unjust societies, and God's answer is to reclaim the nations through Christ Himself. You know,
Yeah.
it's all about Yahweh incarnate. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from
yeah,
Eden to the Watchers to the nations, Scripture presents a very coherent supernatural worldview, and Psalm 82 is its backbone. Deuteronomy 32, nations distributed under the children of God, Israel a son to Yahweh, idolatry named, and sacrifice to other powers is framed as sacrifice to demons. Psalm 82, those powers are, ruled as unjust in their governance. Their failure destabilizes the world, and Yahweh is invoked to inherit their nations. And then, we got tradition history, later transmission frequently relabels sons of God as angels and otherwise deifies the
Yeah.
picture, which is itself evidence that the older strata were theologically, you know,
There
more.
was smoke.
right.
Yeah, there's something going on there.
Sorry.
And we just get uncomfortable with it. I preached a sermon a couple weeks ago on, well, now it's months ago for the listeners. And one of the things in the sermon, God says he's bringing Babylon it's Habakkuk. And Habakkuk is uh, complaining to God. He's like, God, man, I look out in the streets and there's so much violence. Why do you make me look at this? Can you please come and fix this? And God's like, all right, I got a fix for you. I'm bringing Babylon. And, there's these people and they're going to come down and you read his description and it's utterly terrifying what happens. And at the end of that description, it says that uh, they make their strength their God. They literally worship their own self, their own strength. Um, and but they're guilty, it says. And it's really uncomfortable with that whole passage is the fact that God uses wicked people to judge not West, less. God uses wicked people to judge West. Sorry. God uses really evil people to judge less evil people.
Right.
And it's unsettling and uncomfortable. And I think in a similar way, um, this stuff about the divine council is also unsettling and uncomfortable, which is why there's always this shift away from these ideas. And I think it's important for us to accept them and to wrestle with them because it means that we're wrestling with something that's greater than our own imagination. In fact, it's not our imagination, it's real.
Mhm.
And this is something about God that we have to learn to accept and to really work through. Um, And it just means, to me, it means it's more likely to be real because people don't, it's there's it's not the God that we created that fits in our nice little box. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
anyways, wrapping it all up here. So we've looked at, you know, we're talking about Rivals Kingdom of Yahweh based on McDormand's book. And McDormand's book really does help us modern Christians engage with this concept without fear. The supernatural worldview isn't, it's not a permission to slip into paranoia. Um, it really is a way
It
to make
Yeah.
sense of the world. Like, you can slip
Yeah.
into paranoia and like all this stuff, and it's like it's really fascinating. At the same time, it should be kind of normal. Like it's really interesting to learn about, but it you know, I think there's the danger of ignoring it. We've talked a lot about that. There's also the
Mhm.
danger of being utterly fascinated with it and like getting into like really weird stuff. It's like, the Bible doesn't go there. And be
Yeah.
paranoid at
it
everything. You're like,
there
there's a
there
demon underneath this rock. And it's like,
I think there's the danger in giving them more credit than what they've got.
right. Yeah.
Uh,
It just really is like this concept of the supernatural worldview helps us just to name what idolatry is, helps us to understand the cosmic levels of injustice, and understand spiritual rivalry, and we don't give them ultimate authority. That's God. Psalm 82 does not give them ultimate authority. And really, we just pray along with the psalmist that God would inherit the nations. That is
Yeah.
our goal. And so, really, what do we do with all of this? Where are
Um,
we going?
well, basically, we take scripture seriously, recognize rival powers, and trust Yahweh's authority. And one other
Oh,
thing to note with learning about it, there's obviously the cautions and stuff, but knowledge is power, so to speak. By
yeah.
by learning about it, you're kind of taking
Yep. That's
away
what the devil said.
the
right.
the power that some of the power I have over you. Like,
My,
I see what you did there. Um,
yeah.
in a non-bad way, of course.
I know,
Uh,
I know, I know, I know, I
but
know.
like if they can be cloaked in shadow behind the corner, in the dark
Yeah.
room, you don't know what's there, the fear of the unknown. But once
Right.
once you kind of know what's there and oh,
Right.
God's already defeated them, like I'm part of
Yeah.
the kingdom of Yahweh. It takes a lot of that power away from the kingdoms of darkness, you know.
Right.
Absolutely.
So
And it
that's
also
also a really good takeaway for why it's worth even looking into this type of stuff.
and
Yep.
it's also it also lets you be on guard.
Exactly.
I remember the very first very first Naked Bible podcast I ever listened to was actually I just been like, hey, you know what? I bet you this guy's got a podcast, and I didn't even know about it. I just looked up Michael Heiser podcast, and it came up the Naked Bible podcast. I was like, wow. Anyways, so
Yeah.
for the very
I
first one,
remember being confused at the name of that podcast.
yeah, yeah. And the very first one I listened to was he was actually interviewing people from all over the nation, like a group of like five guys who were there was one Catholic priest, there was one Baptist minister, there was a guy from here and there and here. And there was this one guy who said that what he liked about this subject and Heiser's work anyways and getting it out there was what they did for the people in their church was they were able to show these people that were going through really hard times and really like addictions and powerful things going on in their lives that were really just that they were battling, and they were able to show them that, listen, there are spiritual entities that want to see you fail,
Yeah.
you know, and that is what this like that it's not just, yes, it is you, it is us, we have to deal with ourselves, but that, you know, we're not just dealing with ourselves. And that's where this becomes real, because the rivals are real. And what's really awesome about learning about all this is, yeah, we've got this on guard, but we also see that they're not the ultimate
Mhm.
spiritual being out there. You know, yeah, there's this great spiritual battle going on in our world, even today. But the biblical theology we have discussed here shines a light on that evil. So,
Exactly.
and yeah, sure enough, my wife has been doing research into this evil, right? Evil that's going on not only in society but in the world as a whole. Um, and in the upper echelons of society, it can be really scary. Yeah, it's wild. It's scary, the dangers that are out there, and behind all that evil, human evil danger are the spiritual forces in high places. And
Yeah.
you know, and because our eyes are opened up, we as Christians, we can see this being a direct result of these spiritual rivals of which David has helped us to understand about today. And but
All credit goes
point
to
the point
Heisman.
of all this.
Well, that's the psalm. I thought you were talking about the psalm was written by David. So there you go.
Oh yeah, yeah. And you know what?
There
At
you go.
first, at first I was thinking that, and then I was like, no, I'm talking about David here. But anyways, David. But but the point out of all this, all this rambling that I just did, uh, the point is most assuredly that Yahweh is, that he is in control, he is on the throne, and that he has already defeated them. Yeah, they're running amok and all that, but he's already defeated them with the blood of Jesus Christ and his risen son.
Absolutely.
We-
It's mind blowing.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. And we don't we need to be cautious.
Yeah.
Know that they're there, but we don't have to be afraid of them because
Yeah.
he's in control. He is in control.
Absolutely.
He's on the turn.
Yeah. Well, I think that wraps it up for today. I'm definitely excited. Our list of episodes just keeps growing, and David is really writing this, and then I come in, I'm like, oh, we should talk about this. We should talk about, uh, the book of Micah being this power play between Yahweh and the gods of Assyria. We should talk about Simon Magnus claiming to be Zeus and Jupiter himself. It's wild. Anyways, those are some of the topics I want to talk about at some point. I'm sure we'll get to them, but
Yeah.
uh,
It is very
yeah,
exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
awesome.
There's a lot to cover on the topic, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but that's the benefit of us running our own podcast. We can take as much time as we want and talk about as
Heck yeah.
much stuff as we want. It's great. No one can tell us we have to wrap it up and
Yeah.
change our
Well,
topics. Well, okay, we might do it to ourselves, but
yeah.
Yeah.
but we're our
Yeah.
own bosses, sort of.
Yeah. Now
So much freedom.
I do want to mention that I did look up that book, guys, and it is by Wendy Alec, and it is
Yeah.
the Fall of Lucifer is book 1 of 5 in the Chronicles of Brothers, Time Before Time. And
Okay.
yeah, it's a neat little, if you want to just have some fun and some Christian, what they call Christian fiction, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Sure.
So, but
Okay. Well, that is very good. Good to know. So,
don't
but
take
back
it
to
don't take it as Bible.
yeah.
Please
No.
don't.
I mean, maybe worth checking out, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, anyways, definitely want to thank you, our listeners, for continuing to join us as we delve into these fascinating aspects of the biblical study. There are so many podcasts and so many of them that focus on theology, and you took the time to listen to our podcast, and I'm very thankful that you've chosen us to be part of your day. So thank you.
Yeah, so be sure to like, share, comment if you've enjoyed today's episode, or even if you disagreed with us on anything. There's always room in our study for a conversation.
Come at
We
me,
can
bro. No,
a polite
we'll be
conversation.
our conversation. Nah, we'll be good.
So you can find us on our website. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and pretty much wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Also, be sure to check out our merch store. Our dream is one day to break even on this endeavor. And
Hey,
with your help, our wives
the year report
worrying
is
about
in.
what?
Sorry, finish that. Our wives can
Oh,
stop worrying about, yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say our wives can stop worrying about how much money we've spent on it. We got mugs, we got shirts, and we have our fresh ground theology coffee that
Which
Wes mentioned earlier.
Hey,
which is
okay,
very good.
we have oh, yeah, it's quite good. We have a record for this month for clicks to the store. We are up to 3 clicks to the store. So,
Wow.
3 people I
Oh,
don't know if any of y'all have clicked to the store. Maybe it was you
and
guys, but
that was me today. I was showing a guy at work, and it was faster to go to our merch store. So, so I guess that's indicator to the audience at how much stuff we don't sell. Like the only sale I remember making is when my dad bought a cup from us and was like, "Thanks, Dad. I appreciate your support."
seriously good stuff, y'all. Go out there and take a listen.
It is really
Maybe by
cool.
the time
I
maybe by the
designed the
time this
shirts
airs.
myself.
He's an excellent designer. He does it professionally too. So guys, come on. Anyways,
Not professional
all
for
right.
this because I don't support myself to this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not professionally. Yeah. Anyways, all right. Well, let's go ahead and close the way that Christians have prayed for centuries, with the words of our Lord. And I'll close with the Our Father, and Wes, if you would close after that with the Aaronic blessing, the priestly blessing there. But I'll start here. Let's pray. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debt as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace.
Amen. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on Fresh Ground Theology. Special thanks to Mayu for his song Fernwind for the theme music for today's episode.